This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined once again by the realest man in boxing, Viddal Riley. We're here at the lovely City Gym in Las Vegas, Nevada. How you doing, Viddal?
I feel good, man. I feel like I'm back in my second home. You know, I spent a lot of time out here preparing for my own fight, so yeah, it's good to be back here. It's weird having an interview with you here. Feels like we should be in the UK, but you know, we're worldwide with it, so it's nice.
Yeah, we're all getting about these days, so it's all good. First and foremost, before we start the interview, congratulations on your promotional deal with Mayweather Promotions. Tell us a little bit about how it came about.
You know, we was looking for a promoter. We had a good, solid year as a pro, 3-0. Tried every fight was a new country, new opportunity, and we managed to find a company that is 21st century. That's the best way to put it. A lot of fighters and a lot of promoters, I should say, are stuck in the past and don't want to open their eyes to new things. We've seen Eddie open his eyes and start promoting the KSI and Logan fight, and Mayweather Promotions can see that this could be a thing where you shouldn't dismiss people's following or how they got it, and they offered me the best deal I could get based on what was on the table, and we took the move, so we're here. That's where we are.
I'd imagine that you weren't short on promotional offers. Would that be fair to say?
It is fair to say. You know, I feel like I bring quite a bit to the table, so I feel like any promoter would want me, but I got to look at what's best for me long term. A lot of short term things seem great, but it's long term and the opportunities that can come about, the big shows, the big cards, you know, and being closely linked with Mayweather Promotions and Al Heyman, and you know, having these connections is only going to put me in the right places, so I'm excited.
Now we'll come on to you and what you're up to probably in a little bit more detail, hopefully at some stage this week. But before we do that, before we move on to what we're going to talk about today, just final word on Floyd. I know somebody who you watched growing up. I know somebody you have a tremendous amount of respect for. Could you have ever imagined that one day he'd be your promoter?
No, you know, I knew I'd be a pro one day, and I knew I would eventually sign with one of these big companies, but I always would have assumed it to be Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn. But then to think my career went overseas to a point where Floyd Mayweather can say, yeah, I want him. And I believe I'm the only UK fighter on the roster at the moment. So, you know, actually Theophane was an old signing back in the day. Now I'm the only UK guy, so it says a lot.
It certainly does, and as I say, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail throughout the week, but let's talk about next week. Seems like it's come around very, very quickly, this fight. Time flies when you're having fun.
That's how it goes. You get the beginning of camp that seems like it's never going to end, and then the last 2 weeks fly by. Now we're 11 days out. JJ's looking the sharpest he's looked, everything's clipped. He's had some hard training out here, put his body through things that a YouTuber wouldn't put themselves through, you know, that's a fact. Like, stuff I'm used to doing and taking for granted that I can do it, you know, seeing him do it, it's like, wow, you know, it's a transition. We trained him as a professional fighter, and he spent most of his years sitting down doing nothing. So, physically, I mean. So, this is a big change for him, and his body went into shock, and we've come out the other end now. Now it's all flying colours.
Talk to me about that change. I mean, on the back of the last fight and heading into this fight, this is now a professional fight, so obviously that adds that added element to it. Just how big of a difference has this camp been compared to the last one?
Wow, this camp has been intense, you know. He prepared for the last fight, and obviously anyone that I train there will prepare, but he has a lot of outside responsibilities that did get in the way. You can't even pinpoint exactly where it was, but he's a busy guy. He does a lot of things, and a lot of things got in the way of the last camp. Moving out here for the last 3.5 weeks, made him dedicate his final bit, the last bit, the hardest bit, to training and to boxing, and we didn't get the chance to do that last time, and I think you'll see that in the ring November 9th.
When you say about him kind of moving out here in the last 3.5 weeks, focusing out here, just how important is that? Because he's one of the most recognisable faces in the country, well, one of the most recognisable faces around the world, but how beneficial is that to have him here and without the distractions of London?
It's crazy because people think because we've gone to Vegas isn't a place to focus, but as glamorous as it is, he's only been on the Strip once. You know, the city has two parts to it. It has the part that everyone travels for, the tourist attractions and all that. But then you have the suburb bit where we are, where we go to the house, to the gym, to the track, to the house, to the gym, and he's managed to just not record any YouTube videos. He's managed to just do minimal social media, and I think he's enjoyed it. It's been a bit of a relief for him to have the solitude and actually focus on boxing for once, whereas he's always got a Sidemen video to do, he's always got his own channel to upload. He's just put that all to the side and said, boxing, here we go.
It's good for other YouTubers who are uploading videos around the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, because I guess they can get some exclusive footage and react to things that he's not going to and steal some views. But ultimately, they won't be getting paid what he does on November 9th. So ultimately, he wins again.
Fair enough. We've spoken about kind of the fact that it is a professional fight. Just what does that add to this fight? The fact that it's now professional. There's no head guards. It's 10-ounce gloves. Talk to us about that.
Well, it makes it credible. It makes it a legitimate fight. It's always easy to say, oh, it's a white collar fight, it's not real, it's not licensed, these guys are just off the street. Well, they're not now. They've signed up, they do a pro, public workout, press conference, weigh-in, there's a weight limit, 200 pounds, 90 kg, whatever you want to call it. They are following the rules and the guidelines that I follow. Doesn't mean they're as skilled, and that's what people seem to cloud their judgment, like, oh, they don't deserve to do it. Why not? There's loads of journeymen out there that these two are better than. It's a fact. But their following allows them to be in the position they are, and this is a real fight. It's a professional fight, and yeah, it's going to be crazy to see them in there with the Reyes on and like that whole showdown of what you expect to see with the elite of the sport. But they put their work in somewhere else, and it's paying off.
You mentioned Reyes gloves, and this is potentially something that people who will watch this video aren't that familiar with. Break down to people who are watching the different types of gloves that professionals use and why people would choose certain gloves over other gloves.
So you got like Cleto Reyes, like punchers gloves, you really can feel and dig into your opponent, and you get people that get Grant gloves, which are like more defensive, got a bigger surface area. You got Everlast gloves, who again, they're just one of your traditional first ever made gloves. So if you're talking about history, you go with your Everlast glove. But there's loads. You got winning gloves, again, defensive gloves, very padded. And yeah, like they all have their different purposes, and we know what ones we're going for. We're going for the punches, so you can expect some fireworks.
Why is that? Why go for the puncher's gloves, apart from the obvious?
Because we're in the pain game. As you said, apart from the obvious, it is that obvious. We're in the pain game, and we want to inflict pain on Logan Paul. It's really as simple as that. We want pain, and we want the best tools to do it. And I feel like those are the best ones, and that's why we chose them.
We're out here in Las Vegas. I just spent 10 minutes speaking to Stitch Duran, legendary cuts man, been around the sport for a number of years. Just shook hands with your manager, Amir Abdullah, who's been around combat sports for decades. Yeah. How important is that experience to have that around JJ as he goes into his first professional fight?
If you're going into a fight, you want to be surrounded with the elite. You don't want to be surrounded with the elite of YouTube. They're not going to help you. I love all those guys, and I hang around with all of them, but they're not going to help us in this situation. I'm not trying to get 1 million views right now. I'm trying to become a fighter. So why am I going to hang around with you? I need to hang around with people who fight, people who know how to fight, who've reached the highest level of the sport, whether it be kickboxing as my manager, or whether it be boxing like Stitch Duran, people that have been in world championship fights. Out here we're having spars with referees who have reffed world championship fights. So if you're preparing for a fight, you hang around the best in the game. If I was preparing to build a channel where I interview fighters, I'd follow you.
That's a huge compliment. I did actually pay Viddal to say that. I haven't spoken to you since before the London press conference. Yeah. You promised me something that I would never have seen before. That's what we got that night. Okay. Talk to us about that press conference.
Well, I'm a man of my word. I have to say that. I'm a man of my word. I told you I'd give you something you haven't seen. Normally I'm very chilled. I sit back and but I wasn't going to let Shannon come in and have the limelight, and that's what he's really in it for. We all know this, man. Like, if you're going to be serious, we're getting to a serious part of camp now. We know Shannon Briggs is out there for himself. Anyone sitting there at home will realize that, because he speaks every 10 seconds. So I just said, you're not going to have the limelight today. I'm going to use the crowd against you. I'm going to use my merchandise against you, which sold very well. Thank you to all the realist fans. And I'll take his limelight away. And I did that. He only said, let's go champ a couple times that day. So I'm proud.
We didn't see Logan Paul leave the press conference, which is not something that we have seen him do that previously, and that's something that you predicted he would do in the London press conference. Do you see anything from him that you potentially didn't expect?
I feel like he handled the situation the best he could. A lot of people are like, oh, he's rattled and he's lost that press conference. I feel like we done what we was always going to do, which was use the crowd to ruin him. And he just thought, instead of leaving the stage, I'm going to act like Spider-Man, I'm going to act weird, I'm going to say dumb things. But if that's what kept him on stage, good on him. Ultimately, none of that stuff matters. It's a press conference, doesn't matter. But he done well. He done well to stay on there.
Just want to catch up on a few things that JJ said recently that raised a few eyebrows. I think as recent as today, he said that he didn't train for the last fight. Now you were in camp. As I understand it, that's potentially not quite how things went. Just explain that.
No, when he says he didn't train, doesn't mean I didn't train. I rolled out of bed and rolled into the fight. He just means that there were stones that he didn't turn. You know, there were certain places, dark places he's seen, which you may see later on YouTube, that he's gone to, and what builds champions. Every fighter goes to that dark place and they come out the other side, or they stay in the dark, you know, and he's gone through that this time. So when he says, you know what, I didn't train, he realizes there's levels to this training thing. We're working with world-class coaches, you know, obviously you've got Jeff Mayweather here, focusing on his defense, Larry Wade, focusing on his strength conditioning, pushing him on the track, pushing him in the weight room, I'm pushing him, Leon Williams is pushing him as well. So we just got a strong team that are just on this guy's case, and I kind of feel sorry for him sometimes. I'm like, you know what, we're hard on you, but the hardest thing about boxing is embarrassment and losing, and we'd rather punish you here than let that happen November 9th. So anytime I have a little bit of regret, it vanishes.
I'm sure he'll be pleased to hear that. How much are you expecting Logan Paul to have improved from the first fight?
Oh, I expect him to improve. I expect him to be better. I don't know how much, but I expect him to be a better fighter. And I expect him to want to win. You know, a lot of guys both guys got a lot riding on this, and he's got his pride. And he's got his career on the line. You know, remember, JJ revived his career with this whole boxing thing. So JJ knocked him out November 9th. He goes back to just being the guy that recorded the body and someone that got knocked out by KSI. That becomes his reputation. Because if we're looking at it, he has nothing else to hold on to. JJ just released the album, millions of streams. Sidemen group get millions, 10 million views every Sunday. What has he got if he doesn't win this fight? So I expect him to be a better fighter, but he just won't be better than my guy.
What can people, well, again, this is something for people who potentially aren't familiar with kind of the final stages of camp. Yeah. Between now and next Saturday, what's the schedule like for JJ? How are you going to taper him down, a term that we use in the sport?
We got our final push. This is like our last little push, and then we start to taper down and just repetition, drills, things that, you know, just need to stick in his mind, and under panic he just reverts to that. Good habits. And once all those things are in place, happy days. So yeah, that's the routine.
Is there a different kind of mental preparation for this, being the fact that this fight is going to be in LA? The last one was obviously back home in the UK.
No, we've been out in Vegas, 30-minute flight over to LA, same thing. I don't think there's anything we need to change. You know, he's training in altitude, he's run mountains, nothing needs to change apart from we arrive, check into the best hotel we can, and go from the best hotel to the venue and straight back there. That's it.
I'm sure it'll be a lot nicer than the hotel I picked out for my guys. Viddal Riley, always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend, whether it's in London, LA or Las Vegas. You always make time for Boxing Social.
Anywhere we are, listen, anytime you need an interview, if you catch me on Pluto, I'm there.
Viddal Riley, the realest man in boxing. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.